guys, Ryan here once again for another video for Retro Death. Last week's video we took a look at the first series of Marvel Universe trading cards, so I thought I'd just keep running with this, and today we're going to take a look at Series 2. Series 1 had 162 regular cards with the 5 hologram cards, which I didn't show you any of those yet. I'll show you those later. And that continued on with Series 2. It's again 167 cards, 5 of them being holograms. But there were a lot of major changes in the next series that came out the following year. So I figure we'll dive right into it. We'll take a look at the cards and I'll kind of walk through some of the differences as we go. So I hope you guys enjoy, and let's take a look at the cards. Alright guys, this is Series 2. I keep it in the same binder here with Series 1 because they fit pretty nicely into one binder. They're both the same amount of cards, like I said, 162 for the base set. And then there's the 5 holograms again, which I don't have lumped in here. I have them in a separate sheet. But I find the art overall on these ones to be a little bit crisper, a little bit nicer. The cards just seem to be a little bit more high quality. Also in Series 2 they made a couple of changes that just set it apart from the first set. I love the first set for a lot of reasons, but it was really when Series 2 hit that I really started to really hit my stride with these cards. As you can see, same thing as in Series 1, it's all heroes first, and then later you get into the villains, and then there's some other sets of or types of cards as it goes on. So let's take out Spidey here, and I'll show you some of the differences on the backs of the cards. Okay, as you can see, this was one of our favorite cards to take out as we were kids. The ends on these are a little bit bent, but for the most part, this set is pretty pristine. I kept this one pretty well as the years went. But the first thing you notice is probably one of my favorite things that they did with these cards from here on out, and it's the power rating system. My friends and I, including Cole, who I always talk about, we would pore over these and we would memorize these ratings. And we would often have conversations about who could beat who in a fight and things like that, and it would often come down to our knowledge of what was on the backs of these cards. We always knew that Spider-Man had a certain strength compared to, say, the Hulk, or compared to Wolverine, or things like that, where like Spider-Man has a 4 on here, Wolverine might have a 1 or a 2 because he doesn't really have superhuman strength. There's some cards that kind of describe these later on we'll get into. They give a little bit more background on these different ratings here, but we'll take a quick look at them. On every card you would see strength, speed, agility, stamina, durability, and intelligence. And they would give kind of the same information that you'd see on the first set. Group affiliation, their first appearance, a little description, and then they would have some trivia at the bottom. So for instance, on this card we see, did you know Peter's parents, Richard and Mary Parker, were US government agents killed by the villainous Red Skull? So they would give just a little bit of kind of trivia on the back there. For the most part, the stuff on the back was pretty similar to what you'd see in the first set, but again, this power ratings thing was just huge when we were kids. We used to pore over these just to find out, you know, where everyone stood, I guess, in comparison with the rankings. So yeah, let's take a look at some of the other cards here in the set, and maybe I'll pull a few out here and there that I really like. I really like the art on this card too. The black instead of the blue on this costume is pretty cool. This was kind of when McFarlane, Todd McFarlane was doing some of the art for Spider-Man in the early 90s, and one of the things he went out of his way to do was, you know, kind of depict Spider-Man more like a spider. In some of the older cards and sets of, you know, Spidey would be swinging around with his legs straight out, like you would imagine somebody swinging on a rope, but he would kind of go out of his way to have him in different positions, kind of like bent up positions, kind of like maybe like a spider would look. And he that kind of kept going from his reign on, and other artists did that too. I just mean that he really went out of his way. Often Spidey would look so totally contorted in his art, and also often the suit is supposed to be still blue and red, but a lot of his art was so dark that the shadowing would make it black, and I find in this set you'll often see Spidey with black and red instead of blue. I think typically to kind of, because McFarlane's art depicted it in such a dark way. But anyway, we'll keep looking at some more cards. So I'll go through all the cards on the page again and like just pick out some that I like along the way. Of course we have Spider-Man, Daredevil, The Thing, Marvel Girl. These three were on the same page, I think the first page. Actually, Namor might have been on the first page in the last set too. Marvel Girl, Jean Grey is still depicted as Marvel Girl. She would take on her name later, and this is her X Factor uniform. We have Phoenix, Submariner, again, Namor, Mr. Fantastic, Iceman, Shadowcat. Here we have the Human Torch, Nightcrawler, one of my favorite characters. I always loved this card for him. It just depicts him in his swashbuckling ways, which I always loved. I love how they gave him this crazy hat, and he's got the two swords. You know, Nightcrawler was the great swashbuckler, as you can see here. Not very powerful in his most of his stats, but he had great stamina and incredible agility. That's one of his things. He was very acrobatic. I always thought that they should give him like full speed because he can teleport from place to place, but I guess they're looking at his speed, you know, as a normal person, not counting the teleportation. Here we have Captain Britain, Iron Man. I always like this Iron Man card. Punisher, Cable, very cool character that really picked up in the 90s with all the guns and everything. Psylocke, Gambit, Deathlock, the Vision. I'm kind of wondering if Vision's going to make an appearance in the Avengers movie soon because he's such a big Avengers character. Hawkeye, who of course is a big character in the Avengers movies. Silver Sable, Night Thrasher, Puck. Puck's such an interesting character. He's this. I won't get into the whole thing, I guess, with Puck, but he's one of the members of Alpha Flight, and he's been through a lot of shit. Union Jack, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch. Of course, these are the two twins who are going to be making some appearances in the future Marvel movies. Havoc, Iron Fist, awesome card for Iron Fist. Adam Warlock, Wonder Man, Sasquatch, another one of the Alpha Flight guys. This is like the Canadian Beast, I guess you could say. Firestar, one of the, I think, and I could be wrong about this, but one of the few characters that I think was, in concept, was created for a cartoon series. I think she was created for Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and then eventually found her way into the comics. And she actually, I think, I could be wrong about this, is now one of the members of Storm's group in X-Men in the comics right now, which would mean I think that's the first time she's ever been an X-Man, but she's always been related to kind of X-Men characters. I think she's a mutant. Death's Head. Death's Head was one that I don't know a lot about, but Death's Head's, I don't know, such a weird character. I always love this card though. He's like this, I don't know, cyber ninja warrior guy. He's got crazy stats. First appeared in Dragon Claws #5, and I think that says 88. I just thought he's such a crazy character, and he makes appearances in lots of the cards, but I don't remember ever seeing a comic for Death's Head. Here we have Speedball, who's been through a lot of shit too. He's a completely different character in the comics now. There might be a new Speedball, but the original Speedball is, I won't get into the whole thing there, but U.S. Agent, kind of one of the Cap clones. Banshee, Storm, Archangel, Thor, Quasar, Wolverine. I always love this Wolverine card. I gotta take it out really quickly. I just like this look for Wolverine, that the really squared off jaw and the huge ears on his mask, and he had the big kind of ears on his boots too. Just always love this depiction of him. As you can see here, like I said, his strength isn't that high because he doesn't have superhuman strength, but he has incredible agility, stamina, and durability. Of course, durability because he can heal. Yeah, I just always like this depiction of him. He's very squat. Like, he's supposed to be a very short character, and because of the movies, that's kind of gone out the window. Hugh Jackman plays him, so he's always this tall character, but he's supposed to be a very short guy. You can see here, height 5'3", and they just kind of ran with it with the movies. And in fact, I think in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, I think they made Wolverine much taller than that. I don't think he was quite 6 feet. I think they might have made him like 5'10", 5'11", but that was to kind of match up with the Hugh Jackman character in the movies. But in the normal 616 universe, Wolverine's supposed to be just 5'3", supposed to be a short little guy. I kind of hope if Marvel ever get the character again with the X-Men comics that they'll depict him properly. And not that I have anything against Hugh Jackman's version of the character. I like some of the movies, but I just, you know, want them to depict him properly. Cyclops, Nick Fury, the Hulk. I think this is the Hulk when he had kind of merged with Banner, and he actually kind of stayed in Hulk form all the time, and he was highly intelligent, so he kind of had the best of both worlds. There's the Captain America card. Megan, Jubilee, Ghost Rider, Beast, Invisible Woman, Rogue in another crazy uniform. I don't remember ever seeing her in again. She-Hulk, Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, and then we're into the supervillains. We started off with Kingpin, another great Sabretooth card, Magneto. I like this Venom card alright, but he looks kind of strange in it. Of course, this was before they started doing all the crazy things where he always had a crazy tongue and green sludge coming out of his mouth, but he just looks so strange in this card, I find. Galactus, the Mandarin, Chameleon. I always like this picture of Chameleon just chilling out. Super Skrull, Grim Reaper, Mojo, Fin Fang Foom, Jigsaw, Tombstone, Hulk, Baron Strucker, Mysterio, Sauron, Annihilus. They picked some strange enemies I found for this series. There's some guys that you don't ever see another card of, like Oluk or whatever I call them there. Rhino, Absorbing Man, Dr. Octopus, Baron Mordo, Saracen, Thanos, Puma, Deathwatch, there's Kang, Blackout, Calypso, Ultron, Nebula, Hobgoblin. I love this Hobgoblin card. I'm gonna take this out really quick. I think this is during the time that the Hobgoblin was actually sort of part demon. Before this, he was just a guy wearing a mask just like the Green Goblin, but there was a period of time there where he actually, and this is Jason Massendale, it was actually made into almost like a monster. In fact, here it says in the Did You Know, due to a spell cast by the sorcerer Doctor Strange, the Hobgoblin believes his face is that of a normal human being. So I think this is the Hobgoblin that, again, it might be during this time that his face got disfigured, but I know there was a period of time where he was sort of possessed by some kind of demon, and I think that led to another goblin, Demogoblin. I'm sure that Cole, when he sees these videos, will comment about that, because Hobgoblin's one of his favorite characters and he knows the whole history. But there was something like that. But either way, I always love this card because he always has that, he has this awesome demonic face. It looks like something out of Spawn. Lizard, Doctor Doom, Loki, the Red Skull. So as you might remember, with the last series, we had a set called Famous Battles, and that could be a comic arc like Armor Wars or something like that, or it could be the X-Men versus Magneto. But in this set, what they did was they actually decided to depict arch nemesis. So you'll see Wolverine versus Sabretooth because they're arch nemesis. Avengers versus Kang. We got Captain America versus Baron Zemo. Fantastic Four versus the Skrulls. Daredevil versus Elektra. Spider-Man versus Hobgoblin. Spider-Man versus Venom. Silver Surfer versus Galactus. The Human Torch versus Namor. On the next page here we have the X-Men versus the Sentinels, Thing versus the Hulk, Punisher versus Jigsaw, Fantastic Four versus Galactus, Daredevil versus Bullseye. I thought it was weird that they put Daredevil versus Elektra, because I would consider these guys arch nemesis. They have more of a sordid history, but anyway. X-Factor versus Apocalypse, Wolverine versus the Hulk. Again, we got the Brown in Town versus Grey Hulk. Spidey versus Dr. Octopus, and Punisher versus the Kingpin. Captain America versus the Red Skull, Spider-Man versus the Lizard, Ghost Rider versus Deathwatch. I know very little about Deathwatch, but I guess he was one of his main villains. Daredevil versus Punisher, Silver Surfer versus Thanos, Doctor Strange versus Baron Mordo, the X-Men versus the Marauders, the Avengers versus Ultron, which we'll see in a movie soon. Nick Fury versus Baron Strucker. The Fantastic Four versus Doctor Doom. Spider-Man versus J. Jonah Jameson. I always love that. Iron Man versus the Mandarin. X-Men versus Magneto. Thor versus Olek. So I guess Olek was one of Thor's enemies. Hulk versus the Leader. Daredevil versus Kingpin. We have Silver Surfer versus Mephisto. Thor versus Loki. So this was another change to the set. So before we had the Famous Battles, and then we went into the Most Valuable Comics, and then like the Spidey interviews ones, and they kind of got away with well, actually, I guess they kind of kept Famous Battles by making it the Arch Nemesis cards, but what they switched to in this set, and it's the only time you see this, they did a little set on different weapons from different characters in the Marvel Universe. So here we have Captain America's shield, Thor's hammer, Daredevil's billy club, the Ultimate Nullifier, Spider-Man's web shooters, the Punisher's arsenal, Iron Man's armor, the Infinity Gauntlet, which we'll see in movies soon, a lot more of it I'd say, Quasar's quantum bands. There's a character I don't hear about ever anymore. Dr. Octopus's arms, the Mandarin's rings, Wolverine's claws, and then we get into another set here. But quickly I want to take a look at one of these weapons cards so you can see what they're like. Love this picture of Wolverine, it's like a Jim Lee. But anyway, on the back here they would give like a description of the weapons. They talk about each one of his claws here, the dimensions, the weight, the composition. Here they say his claws are made of adamantium blades, knuckle covers, surgical stainless steel penetration slots, body attach parts, silicone rubber, body seals, which is what they're talking about with these little sections here where it came out of his knuckles. He would often be depicted with these not only on his gloves but on his hands. Nowadays they just kind of come out of his gloves. I don't think they really show the little knuckle protrusions anymore. And there were definitely all kinds. There's definitely all kinds of art where he didn't have gloves on. You would still see these these metal connectors that were on his arms here, where the claws would come out. Now they just kind of say that they come straight out the skin. Ultra hard adamantium is used throughout Wolverine's skeleton and is ideal platform, that doesn't make any sense, upon which to root claws. Claws are extended through, it's really difficult to read through this thing here. Claws are extended through a silicone plug located in each knuckle cover by surgically rearranged muscles. Silicone seals must be periodically replaced. So, this might have even been before, it became canon that Wolverine had bone claws that became, they were shaved down and covered in adamantium to become the blade claws. So it might have been understood in the canon at this time that these claws were embedded into his hands, and to give him a weapon. I can't really say for sure, but yeah, I always thought that was really cool. And here are the legend cards. So the legend cards were just a short little stack of cards that were about characters that were deceased in the Marvel Universe at some point or another. So you have characters like Captain Marvel, Bucky, who would have eventually come back as Winter Soldier. But Bucky was kind of Captain America's sidekick way back in the post-war days. The original Green Goblin, which was Norman Osborn. The original Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze. Kraven the Hunter, who was deceased at this time. The Dark Phoenix, who Jean Grey had passed away for a period of time as the Dark Phoenix. And then we have the rookie cards again. So they continued using the rookie cards. I think they do it in Series 3 again. I can't say for Series 4. I don't think they did it again for Series 4. But they just have a few different new characters that were introduced at this time. There's just 5 cards, and then we go into the team cards. So I'll quickly run through them. We have Darkhawk, Sleepwalker, always a strange character. He has like a gray alien face, but he's green. Often he would be depicted with Spider-Man's head. I think I have a comic in particular where the cover is, one side is Sleepwalker's face and the other side is Spidey's face. He's a very strange character. Rage, can't say as I ever heard of this guy again. Darkhawk, I still see him sometimes. X-Force, which of course still lasts to today. This was Cable's team. It's changed completely over the years. They were always sort of a gun-toting badass team. These days the X-Force typically are comprised of a group of X-Men that they kind of take on different missions that the X-Men usually would consider unsavory, like assassination missions and things like that. The new Fantastic Four. I always thought this was so cool. I'll show you guys this one. So this was, I think in '91, there was a brief period of time there where the Fantastic Four, I can't remember if they were considered to be dead or missing or something like that, and these 4 guys came together and were the Fantastic Four for a period of time, and it was Wolverine, Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, and Ghost Rider. They probably give some information on it here. With the real Fantastic Four seemingly murdered and monsters on the prowl, the alien Skrull outlaw responsible for the mayhem used her low-level telepathy and shape-shifting talents to dupe 4 of the Earth's toughest heroes into action. Though this makeshift FF only lasted for 1 mission, just long enough to defeat the warring Skrulls, hold off the malevolent Mole Man and a million Subterraneans, and defuse a multi-megaton alien bomb, they certainly made an impression. And who knows, they might someday decide to team up, or they might decide to add to their success and team up again. So that was the new Fantastic Four. I always thought that was pretty cool. Speaking of the Fantastic Four, they're the first team card. Here they are here. Again, we have the Avengers West Coast. During this time, the Avengers kind of split off. There was a lot of members, so there was the main Avengers that were, you know, in the regular Avengers comic, and then there was Avengers West Coast, which is a separate team led by Tony, and Cap took over for the regular Avengers team. Here we have one of the X-Men squads. We have X-Factor, again, the original 5 X-Men, Excalibur, the New Warriors, the Masters of Evil, the Marauders. I mentioned before that there were these 3 cards that kind of described the different power ratings on the backs of the regular trading cards, and they looked like this. And they would have one of the attributes on one side and another on the other. There were 6 attributes altogether, so there were 3 cards with all 6 of the power ratings on them, and they would give a little description of what each of the numbers meant. So you can see some of those there for strength. And what's interesting about these, and I'd never known this, but apparently at some point when they were releasing the cards, they stopped putting these in the cards. I find that weird because they are numbered cards. As you can see here, we have number 159. These are part of the set. They make up 159, 160, and 161 in the set. But from what I heard, eventually they stopped putting these cards in the set, and they eventually just put the power ratings on the packages of the cards. So when you open them up, you could see the ratings inside, but you didn't have the card itself. So that's what I've heard, and I've read on a couple of different sites, which I find strange, but you know, I guess maybe these cards are a little more rare. I don't know. I remember them being so plentiful. I would get them all the time, and I would hate getting them because I only needed 3 of them, and I had them pretty quickly, I think, and I would get like almost 1 a pack. It drove me nuts, and you couldn't trade them because they were so plentiful. But apparently they eventually nixed them from the set, which is kind of strange. And then the last card again is the checklist. This checklist is totally fresh. I did not check any cards up on this one. I learned my lesson after the first one, so this is in mint condition. I think I might have kept an extra checklist off to the side that I would check, but I kept 1 mint in the sleeve that I never touched. So that is Series 2. Again, a lot of the staples, a lot of the things that I love the most about these cards are the power ratings, and they were introduced in the set, so this set is one of my absolute favorite, if not, might even be my favorite. I love the art in it, just love the time period. 91 was a great time, and just I always thought this was a really, really great set. This had 5 holograms. I think I might have 2 from this set. Again, they're in another sheet somewhere. We'll get to those eventually. The interesting thing about this one was the holograms were, although some of the cards appeared in the set, the art I think was different for the holograms in the set. So instead of just being the exact same picture from another card, it would be a whole other image of the character on the card. So I thought that was kind of cool. So anyway, that's everything about Series 2, guys. The next time we meet, we'll be talking about Marvel Series 3. I hope you're enjoying this series. I hope you enjoy these videos. I'm enjoying making them and going through these cards again. It's really great. So anyway, I will talk to you soon, and peace.